6:30.
All right, I am calling the Village of Cross Plains Plan Commission of September 2nd, 2025 to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cree. Here. Commissioner Hillenbrand.
Here.
Trustee Brochus. Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Thusius. Trustee Kettlemeter.
Here.
President Langfeld.
Here, please stand for a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For public comment, this is an opportunity for anyone to address the Plan Commission on any issue. Please observe the time limit of 3 minutes, while the Plan Commission encourages input from residents. It may not discuss or act on any issue that is not duly noticed on the agenda. Please see the public comment instructions at the end of this agenda. Guess I don't have to read that, but it was there. All right, do we have any public comment? All right, I see Bobby's on there.
Yep. That's it.
All righty. We'll go to general business. First one's approval of the minutes from the August 4th, 2025 Plan Commission meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the August 4th meeting.
A second. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. 2, discussion and possible action regarding certified survey map drafts, section 33 and 34. Town of Berry.
Yep, I'll take this one. So this is a CSM that falls into our extraterritorial jurisdiction. So I'll show you, I had a map up earlier that just shows where it is in relation to the village. I'll see if it loads. So basically what this is doing, so John Brooks, he's a Town of Berry resident, he's splitting off his home and he has, so that'll be 37.63 acres and is gonna sell the remaining 33.64 acres to the Ice Age Trail Alliance. So his parcels are on the north west side of town for the most part. So I'm just trying to, so right in here. So these are the 2 parcels that we're talking about. So this is KP and then Shield Road is right here. So I'll go back to the CSM itself. So basically he's looking to divide that into 2 different lots. This was already approved by the Town of Berry. And so he's going to keep one of the lots, keep his house on it, and then he's going to sell the remaining part or the other lot to the Ice Age Trail Alliance.
And I'm actually here with the Ice Age Trail Alliance.
Oh, you guys come up and I can say it now, well? Just hit the button on the mic there for us, please.
Do I hold it?
No, I guess not.
As long as the light stays on.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yep, so I'm Claire Panukin. I work with Kevin at the Ice Age Trail Alliance. So yeah, like Harley said, we are planning on purchasing that lot 1. It's pretty straightforward. It already went through the Town of Berry. But yeah, John's retaining lot 2 then.
And this hooks up to your current trail?
Yep, so across the street, we own Swamp Lovers Preserve, the 433 acres. It will connect to that, so the plan would be to construct the trail through lot 1, and it actually then connects to the village property there. So that connects to Anderson Preserve, and it would remove the 0.7 mile roadwalk, building somewhere between 3/4 of a mile and a mile of new trail.
I would make a motion to approve the certified survey map, section 33 and 34.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same. So moved. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we're at discussion regarding Marchstone Water Tower / water reservoir. Why don't we have Brian and is it Kyle or Jeff want to come up? Nice to be all at the table.
just came to listen.
Well, I'm sure there's gonna be questions.
Mine will do such a good job.
Good evening, everybody.
Hey, Brian.
I had that in the packet. Does anybody want a paper?
I'll take a paper, please.
I got adjustments. Well, I will make you feel bad. I don't know. I made great.
Yeah, I do want.
Yep.
I like the 11 by 20, right?
This is literally exactly. Yeah, if you want.
Sure, just a lot.
And then, chatting with, developers. They had some questions, so we made up another. I'm just gonna see, pass them down. Kind of a summary cost sheet. Of some of the options I was talking about. This is a single page with some, just photographs of what the options could look like. So, Jay, unless you tell me different. I think what I'll do is walk through the memo, kind of like we did the other day. Just present some of the different options that are available to provide water service there. I'm gonna try and keep it fairly high level. Some of the big questions that came up at the recent staff and developer meeting were certainly some technical ones, certainly some cost ones, but also just some, how does this group, the plan commission, envision things locally out in the area? And without putting my foot in the mouth too far, I think the financial question and the technical question still need to be answered. I would suggest this group, we don't need a ton of guidance on that at the moment, as much as are any of these like visually or subjectively like needed. Seems okay. So with that, I'll dive in. For those of you that have been either residents or on board past, the village has had a long-standing knowledge of both the pros and cons of living in this topography. One of them is that the hilltops are high enough up that you can put a tank on the ground. And they're high enough relative to the houses that they provide pressure. So that all the pressure you have in your homes is from gravity. That's it. The nice thing about the more, I'll call it modern large tank that exists on the southwest side of town on Hilltop is that it's got enough size that it, in addition to providing pressure, which your small one does, you got a small one immediately north of here. That also provides a good amount of fire protection. So when a fire happens, we hope that you have power, and then you can turn on the wells back and turn the wells on to help generate gallons per minute. But in case you don't, or in case fire department needs more gallons per minute than your wells can suck out of the ground, you've got a big tank of water in the sky essentially on hilltop that firefighters can use. And that's the double purpose of those large reservoirs. To provide firefighting capacity, and when we can, make them high enough so that they provide electricity-free pressure. The village has, for the last 70-ish years, been taking advantage of the valley floor, we'll call it, where the homes are in a range of elevations that are both far enough below the tank that you provide about 35 psi, pounds per square inch of pressure, but not so far below that you exceed 100 psi. Those are the code guidelines, the goalposts, if you will, on pressure that you can provide. As the community grows, outward and is forced to go up hills or down hills. Municipal systems just have to wrestle with how are we gonna do that? So we work in some communities that are trying to grow downhill. And they end up having areas of town that pressure's too high. The further the height difference between the tank and the house, is higher pressure at the faucet. So in those cases, those communities actually need to put in what's called a PRV, pressure reducing valve. And it's kind of like throttling your garden hose, pinching off your garden hose to reduce pressure there. Here, we've got the inverse. You're trying to grow, the developer's trying to grow in an area that forces you to go up a hill. And that is beyond what your current system can serve. So going through the memo fairly briefly, right now the highest elevation you can serve is 954. Scroll up just a touch.
Yeah.
That second number there. So any house with a meter higher than 954 is going to be too close in elevation to that tank. The pressure is going to be not enough to meet code. And you do have some homes in the northeast portion of the village that pre-existed that part of the code that survived now with not great pressure. If they had a 2-story house and if they tried to do 2 loads of laundry and had a couple teenagers, it'd be pretty tricky to get good pressure coming out of that shower head. You can see there the next set of figures is where Marchstone, the proposed development, exists. What we're talking about there is the entire thing, not just phase 1. Just for everybody's reference, phase 1 is well within your existing service area. On that's the one that's recently been approved at preliminary plat. But this next phases gets to close to 1145, that's feet above sea level, well in excess of your current system's ability to serve it. I alluded to the historic nature of this issue. The village has been looking at this, we've been looking at this for several decades as different development pressure came. There are roughly probably a half dozen decent ways to address the situation. Each one has some benefits now, as in lower costs, benefits in the future, as in future flexibility, depending on how or if the community wants to grow beyond Marshstone, but higher costs. So you're kind of always balancing those. The other item that we noted when was looking at options to serve Marshstone specifically were that in addition to your zone 1, we will call it, that's your current zone, there's a decent amount of hillside itself, just literally the sides of hills, that takes up a good portion of what we would describe as zone 2. When laying out water systems, we prefer, we have a blank slate. We would prefer that zone 1 would be connected to zone 2, and then if you got complaints about low pressure in one zone, you can just turn some valves and now they're on zone 2, and now they got really good pressure. They could share reservoirs. They would each have a source of water. The issue at hand tonight is similar to what some of you may recall from the Sundance property, in that the homes at the very top are so high up. We kind of started looking at, do we want to skip a zone? There's some value skipping a zone or overlapping 2 zones because of the unlikelihood that a lot of houses would be needed in that hillside zone. So you got the valley, the hillsides themselves, and then at the top would be the 3rd zone, and then at the very tippy top would be a forest. And the old studies, and the old discussions with this group or with the board often centered around a couple ground rules that we would always recommend, and that's the last paragraph on the screen right now, is that ideally, each zone would have 2 sources of water and 1 tank. That gets fairly expensive. And that is not a code requirement. It's something that engineers worry about is, you know, if disaster and another disaster happens in 2 consecutive days, getting water to and from those zones could be tricky, but it's not code. So for this memo, we assume that the immediate need would be to serve Marshfield, and that some future need may get the village to a point where you have enough houses on the separate zone that the community would want to bring in that second source of water. So, when we say need, trying to use the word need to mean that's what code requires, recommend is something that's at some point in the future, when the community feels like there's enough houses, and the definition of enough is subjective, but enough houses that you want to have a second source of water up there, you could do that once your system has grown. As with any quantum leap, like a booster station for water or a sewage pumping station for sewer, that first home, you still need the same stuff, whether it's 1 home or 100 homes. And the trick from the developer standpoint, from the community standpoint, is to balance that so that first house doesn't need to cost $1 million. Load the infrastructure. So with that, we looked at a good half dozen of options relative to the code that I won't bore you with at the moment. There are some overlapping sections of code. So you fairly quickly end up with kind of a tic-tac-toe board of matrices that gives you a bunch of options. And we've distilled that down into about 2.5 options for the village and developer to consider. Now I'll go into those now. The option 1 would be a straight up do zone 2. You've already got zone 1. You'll see that second zone, a third zone, and a fourth zone. Cover all of these potential elevations. That bulleted list and top option on my single page handout is what would be required. So you'd be looking at a booster station, which is a little house, that's a small building, a large ground reservoir, another booster station to go from zone 2 to 3. Then an elevated tower, this is a ball on a stick tower, with yet another booster station to go from zone 3 to 4. And if money was infinite and there were no other considerations, this would be the most technically robust and most future flexibility to provide to a community. It also comes with a fairly heavy price tag. I mean, in a very, very rough, about $13.5 million. There are, whatever fork in the road is chosen, there's a lot of design decisions that get to be made. You know, that could move up or down these by a couple $100,000 each. However, for discussion purposes and round numbers, that's what this sheet is for. The second option would be to look at skipping zone 2. And again, zone 2 would, in a a community that just got gentle hills. Make a lot of sense to have a zone two, but here, because your hills are so steep. And at the edge of your zone one, that there's not a lot of developable land. In those, you do have your hillside regulation requirements. So skipping zone two, you went straight to zone three. That would involve a bit less infrastructure. We'd be back to 2 booster stations. That's one from your current village system to get up to the top of the hill, essentially. And to fill a ground reservoir near the top of the hill, so very similar to what you have now. And that second booster station to feed the homes that are right on that same level as the ground reservoir. We want to, again, we want to be able to provide a solid 35 PSI at ground level, which ends up being 40 PSI in the basement. And allows you to take a shower in the second floor while being water, just for gross purpose. The nice things about that option are slightly less cost. Does have a ground reservoir which matches what we have now. Some folks may don't even know we have 2 of them in town. The third one would be somewhat less costly. And the way we save costs there would be to eliminate that second booster station. So instead of a ground reservoir with pumps right next to it to provide that pressure to get to the second floor of houses, you can go with a traditional elevated tank, a spear on a stick, a ball on a stick. That would also be at the top elevation, but it would be tall enough to create that elevation difference from the, I'll keep on with the ball of water, and that second floor of a house. To provide that pressure. That is slightly less dependent on electricity, and once the water's been pumped up, those are sized to provide at least 1 day's heavy maximum day use for that service area. In all of these cases, the reservoir would be initially sized, reservoirs would be initially sized to handle the immediate needs, Marshstone, and then upsized to handle both any potential growth that those may want to accommodate, as well as some existing needs within your current system. The nice thing about storage at a higher elevation, whether it's a ball on a stick or a ground tank, is that as long as it's higher than your current elevations, you can share that water in a fire. You can open valves and configure the flow so that the rest of the community benefits from the fire protection, which right now you're marginal on storage needs for community members.
Yes,
Oh, please fire away.
you're saying, with going with the tower, the spear, we're better off, you're saying, for the community, for more fire, for.
From a fire protection standpoint, they're the same.
Okay, sorry.
For the folks that live up in those higher zones, so let's say the Marshstone top of the hill folks. The ball on a stick is nice because it works just with gravity. So if there is a power outage, you've got water at high enough elevation that they'll create pressure without electricity. Relying on a ground reservoir and pumps, you do need electricity. These would have generators. So again, I'm talking about a disaster after disaster. Power's out and you're out of fuel for the generator breaks. So in a vacuum, we would an engineer would tend to lean towards an elevated ball on a stick because it's got a little more redundancy. There are the visuals of that, of course, but that's why we're here.
Just clarification on your note, I want to make sure I'm understanding on option 3, you have no options include future wells, 4 and 5. Is that saying that a well won't be able to be hooked into this?
It just means that a future well 4 or 5 is not needed. We would recommend it at some point in the future, and it would absolutely hook into this.
Okay, so why is it just for option 3 and not applicable to option 1 or 2?
It is.
Oh, okay,
The 3 stars goes everywhere.
okay, I just didn't see
Sorry,
it,
yeah.
yeah, it's just on the one, so, okay.
No,
I thought it was unique to that one.
the single star applies to option 2 booster, there's that single
Yeah.
asterisk. And also the option 3 zone 1 booster.
Right.
single asterisk. The double star applies to the one
Option
double
2.
stars, and the triple star applies just to tell everybody that that's something in the future.
Yeah, but that applies to all.
The other item I should call out while we're looking at the asterisks, says includes high pressure water main. Like, go back, or go down, we should say, to the, big matter. Either
This
way.
one? Stick to one.
Zoom out a touch. So, some of you may have recalled that one of the comments on the preliminary plat were that the village should request of the developer, which he's provided, an easement along the edge of phase 1. And that's specifically to allow the village as convenience to run a water pipe, a special dedicated water pipe from the blue/purple area across the yellow-green area to the north of Airport Road to give better pressure to those folks on Airport Road that don't quite have it now. So those costs are embedded in what you see here. Those have not been viewed as a developer thing because it just helps current. That's that single star.
I think that was one of my questions, they should just answer. So I have friends on King Arthur Court, and they have to get their own booster half the time because of that. So if we discuss that, would eliminate that, they wouldn't need it anymore, correct?
What Julie's referring to is, if anyone's ever lived out of town, where you got a well, a pressure tank, basements. That's how those homes have a second floor tower. They have a pressure booster in the basement, that's kind of what they look like. A little bigger, so they're not unheard of, but it's another thing to have. And a lot of folks in that neighborhood have chosen to just install one so that they can overcome some of those pressure deficiencies just for normal daily use.
The water tower isn't falling a stick. Obviously, the higher it is, the more gravity, the more pressure you're getting onto that.
Correct.
Do you have an idea of what the height of that tower would be if there was an option?
It would generally be in the 60 to 80 foot height. The actual distance above ground will depend on where it's placed. So the higher elevation, the shorter the stick part. So it kind of depends on that, but to visually, I'd say it's 75 feet as a cell phone tower. They're generally like a 100 feet, 125 feet, something.
Getting that where I was gonna ask, so the amount of gradient mountain, we have listed on your film's options, and so that's the elevation of the water in the tank, is that?
Yes, sir.
Is that the bottom of the ball, or where is that?
That's about the 3/4 height
Okay,
of the ball.
so if you take that and add another, whatever feet, give an estimate of what the total, so that's kind of what I was looking at, was like, all right. Wherever this may be, what elevation are we talking about, like if the plot is 145, you know, and some of these options say we have like 1,300 feet, so it's like, okay, that could be 150 feet above the ground at the highest point would have a lot.
Yeah,
That's what I'm trying to picture is total elevation, what is this gonna look like?
sure, absolutely, yes. The actual horizontal location is really kind of what drives that height. But if I don't think. I think the village wants, and I don't think the developer wants. But say everybody said, you know what, we love the ball on stick, but we kind of want it in the valley. Then it's going to be 200.
Yeah.
So the critical elevation is what is that water surface elevation, that's what creates the.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying,
You got it, perfect understanding.
how high above the highest part of that development, that would stick out.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't necessarily put the ground reservoir at the same place you put the elevator or the tower.
Not necessarily, but, because of the size of the thing and the proximity to. The transmission water mains, you probably want it in the same spot, you try to generally pick an area that's. Accessible from a road. You know, most people don't want a water tank, ground reservoir, or elevated tower in their backyard, so you try to pick a spot that's not. In front of 6 people's houses, so we would generally try to grab some areas that are, maybe already reserved for reservation space or already reserved for stormwater management, just carve out a little of that. So that's a great example, an excellent, important question that we just don't know till we get a little more guidance from the village and the developer on where, some of these are on the table, then we can move forward, or if one of them seems very palatable, or everyone's preferred option, then we can roll our sleeves up and get some sharp answers.
One more question, sorry. Did we ever do option 1 and move off the zone 3, the zone 4 booster? To say the.
The only way to do that would actually be to shave off the top of the hill. And that, in addition to, it's easy for me to say, it's hard to do.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
fairly expensive.
Kirby stats just rolled over.
Yeah.
So, out of these options, mentioned like Sundance, would any or all of them be able to provide service to that if that were to go through?
Some of them provide that storage, but not the supply of water. If you look at it in cross section. Trying to do a cross section. This is the village right now.
Yeah.
Sundance is here, Marshtown's there. And in order to get water at the right pressure between the two, it would have. Have an umbilical cord all the way through the valley, and at that point, it gets fairly expensive. Just to connect now, and then it's only a single line, that if you ever get a water main break on it, so you really just have 2 lines. And at that point, you might as well just put a booster station in, kind of, well, almost exactly like it was proposed for something. So those are the very high level, absolutely happy to dive into more detail or take any additional questions, but I'll keep my mouth shut for the moment and let folks.
So again, the option that skips zone 2, so that just looking at, very flat here, there's 15 lots or so that show up in zone 2.
Yep.
And then that's what the clubhouse would be as well, and everything there.
Certainly potentially, yeah, those folks would either need that type of private booster in their basements. Alternatively, the clubhouse, as an example, because there would be a storage source up above, that can utilize the pressure reducing valve. Get the water from the same spot, you would just reduce the pressure on purpose right before entry.
Can you install something like that in individual homes as well, pressure reducing?
Oh, yes, absolutely is. Yeah, that's fairly common.
This is off the wall, but if you had to just guess, option 1 versus option 2, how many more years do you think it buys us if we went with option one before, or if we went with option one, that we'd ever have to do something more? That's not right. Versus if we went with option two, do you think if we went with option two, like within 5 years, we'd have to do more anyways, or if we're, you know, like to get us to 10 years, or will option one get us to 10 years, or you had a guess? What's the damn good guess? Huh?
Yeah. I don't know that, you get to a point where you need that at 10. I'll admit that's just from what I've observed of the community in my 15 years or so working with you all. That's a lot of growth. In a lot of spots, so, areas that would benefit from this. You're a laser pointer. So these areas here, I'm not sure who owns that land, but
Is that Mark?
whoever does,
Home plus is
Mark. Oh, it is?
Yeah, that's the.
this blue area becomes very developable, like now. They're not in the village.
Where's Mark Plus compared to that then? You think that's more?
To the right of our first phase, so a little bit
Yeah.
right there, yeah.
Yeah, so those folks are already in zone one. But to answer your question, Judy, it'd be, you know, is there any interest by the landowner in developing this? Is there interest in the village in allowing it to be developed? The homes that are in the township that have been here before, all of them, they become serviceable now. And at some point in the future, when people's private wells fail, they may very well knock on your door and say, we sure love to be part of the village. I don't see that happening in 10 years, to answer your question. I think it's probably more on the 20. But we, you know, we try to couch most of our suggestions on the 100 year type of range.
Well, just so you, these are the last parts for the higher elevations. And if you look, it eventually goes down and then up the valley, you know, Airport Road Valley and stuff. That,
Okay. Yeah.
you know, the hills are getting smaller there,
Right.
as you had. We would have, for me to go with this, we'd have to actually do an analysis on how many houses in the best case scenario, everybody wanted to develop at that level. That's a pretty high level. So, you know, I'm sure that would take us 50 to 100 years probably. You know what I mean? Cause I would think our growth will be LP and out Airport Road, and those are lower elevations.
Yeah, and you've got some lands, the Rip Farm out west of town, that's quite developable. If that family ever decides they are interested.
But this one helped that, that's
No,
again,
no,
way on the
But
other side of the
to
valley.
get to your point, you know, all of this really comes down to a dollars and cents game.
Yeah.
If you can get 100 houses for less millions, there will become more and more pressure on the Rip family in a generation or 2 or 3. Because it's at level. And that lift station that was built as part of Scenic Valley, that's big enough to handle. So that's why I don't think 10 years.
I was okay.
So what are other people's thoughts? And we're not looking, I guess, you know, for me, I'm looking at, let's just piece it out a little bit, the, ball on a stick, how many people would be supportive of doing that up on a hilltop?
It doesn't matter.
All right, well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. bother me.
No, yeah, I don't care what.
Yeah.
I would not be in favor of it,
Huh?
I would not be in favor.
Yeah, what about?
It depends on where.
Well, it's gonna be up on that hill, you're gonna see it at even 60 feet. You're gonna-
But who else are gonna see it? Are the people in the town of Cross Plains and Oak Valley gonna see it, or we have issues with
Well, I think you'll see it from Highway 14 probably.
Yeah.
It's up there.
Put a pretty font on it.
Huh?
Put a pretty font on.
Yeah.
Make it.
They'll know it.
This is a while back, I think, didn't Shorewood and City of Middleton had a battle between the water tower on the north side of Middleton. And Shore Hill sued and got Middleton off it, in the name. I mean, just all stuff that happens down the road, and it seems to me a water tower is a lot more maintenance for us, once we accept it. And cleaning and painting, if you could do any other way, I would prefer not involved, that's just.
I just know Shed View has in the past been a very important issue with developments. That's all.
Bring up a great point as far as ongoing maintenance, et cetera. There's substantial differences between the reservoirs, the elevated towers, booster stations.
Taking it just in apples and apples, elevated tower to ground reservoir. It is more. The elevated towers are typically steel, or at least some steel. There are some brands that make a concrete column, almost like a silo, a steel top, but almost always the top is steel, which means rust unless you keep it painted. So generally painting every 20 years is going great on that. Here, so it was apples and apples if you had a taller hill. And then there's a ground reservoir for sure. Because those are generally gonna be concrete and it just lasts for the rub here is that your hill's not high enough to have a ground reservoir without a booster next to it. And that's where your O&M costs catch up pretty quick. So
Yeah, but I'm looking, option one has 3 boosters.
yeah, so those are, they're generally, that style generally runs 24 hours a day. So it's pump A going, and then it ends its shift and slaps the pump B's hand, and pump B goes, and then if there's a fire, all 3 pumps turn on. So you got electricity, this guy's got to shut on.
Right, well, I guess that's my point. If the tower would eliminate the booster stations, I think it would be a much better selling
Yes.
point.
Yeah, again, from an O&M, total O&M. Option 3 would be where you wanna go.
That's what.
Even with paint, even with the paint.
Was the extra booster more of an additional cost than the additional maintenance itself?
Yes.
So the O and M costs kind of follow the capital costs of this.
Yes, sir.
1, 2, 3, look at everything is lower.
Yeah. With a elevated tank, you should, the community should put away a little bit of money every year, so that in 20 years you have enough money to paint it. So there's some more that you, non-zero costs, but a pumps are gonna break it.
Well, any other comments?
It seems like one is. Killed.
I just think it would be hard to make our money back on that 6.5 million. You just don't know if there's enough growth at that elevation.
Brian, can you ask me a question?
Sure.
Well, if I take option 1, and I got the same argument later, but, and I think I know the answer, but if you looked at the last 2 items, 6.5 million, from 13.5 equals 7 million. Right? Just if you took that 6 and on after that, it's 7 million. Why isn't this 7 million? Why isn't option 2 7 million with the same pieces?
Because option this one
He's pointing to option
goes
1.
on option 1. I'll put it here.
Okay.
Option one provides continuous service all the way up to and including the top.
Okay.
This is
Option
one,
two.
oh,
You'll notice, so this booster is more expensive than this booster.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's because we need to get boost further.
So they
far.
finance is money box, yep,
Yeah.
okay. And the,
And to be fair, I like to overstress. These are like plus or minus $250,000, and I know that I should be playing $250,000, but there's a ton of
mhm,
options and choices to be made.
that answers that,
mhm.
That's a good question.
To me, it seems like it's. Costs. In the aesthetics, well, maybe this committee's perspective or my perspective. The aesthetics of the elevated tower and the issue.
Mhm.
What was the intent tonight here is to look on the options for approval or?
No, we're not looking, there's no action tonight. This is to educate you guys and then give your input on the situations that you're, and that would be the planning of it. It's the board and everybody else that talks about the findings part of it. So it's more on seeing these three options, or is there another option you're thinking about? And then just looking at the pluses and minuses and getting the feel, where you guys are on. How you would like to see the water part of it develop.
Jay, with all due respect, we're
Yeah.
probably already a month or two behind. So I think the intent of this meeting was to get a little bit clarity.
Mhm.
That was my understanding.
Sure, we can,
Because-
but when you say clarity, clarity of what?
Well, I guess in our perfect world,
Yeah,
the commission would basically make a recommendation that would be either option 2 or 3.
Hmm.
If possible, now, you know, I'm not trying to step in where I shouldn't be, but our timeline's super tight to get phase 2 done,
Mhm.
and I think we're already behind schedule.
Mhm.
So if this is gonna get pushed back.
no, it's not gonna, this is the last that's gonna be here, we're moving forward, it's just not the plans commission. Task to pick out a water system, what they're looking at, what I wanted tonight, to see their views on the different options that are here.
Mhm.
This is clearly a board decision.
Okay, even the aesthetics.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
but I wanna hear, because that's what I'm trying to base it on, so when the board comes.
Yeah.
They have some idea of where plan is looking for their piece of this big picture.
I guess we just would not want the board to go, what was the recommendation of the planning commission, and there wasn't one, and the board comes back and says, well, we'd rather have them make that recommendation, now we've missed a month.
And you got 2 out of the 5 of us are on the board, so.
Yeah.
I think we're fine, it was more to let, it was more of an informational thing in my mind, this is not in their. Area of expertise or really what they would recommend. But it was, you know, to me, the big key for me to hear from them is the tower versus the reservoir. Which is to me, you know, a key factor moving forward.
Mhm.
Are there any other? Big benefits of 2 in terms of, sounds like, in terms of future development. You know, 2 or 3. Just having benefits that it has to be noted that are different between those 2 options.
So we played a little switcheroo with everyone that I should have called out. On option 3. You'll see that we refer to this thing called the marsh stone zone. We kind of stop calling zone 1 and zone 2 with all the marsh stone. And said what we're getting at there is, instead of being constricted to just zone 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. This looks at it a little more specifically at Marshstone. Task is serve Marshstone in the most effective way. We create this new zone that kind of straddles some of 2 and some of 3. Actually, some of 4 and some of 3. And we just make it the Marshstone zone. And we declare, because of that phenomenon where you got cross valleys anyway, that what are we gaining by we gotta hit a classic zone 3 that's been talked about for the last 30, 40 years. So that's kind of the flexibility you give up a little, is it brings that zone of service down to best fit there. Yeah. And there is some overlap, these lands here still benefit, the township lands, the east, those houses all still benefit. It's just more specifically laser focused. The development.
And for the million more, you feel like we actually do provide a much bigger service.
Not much bigger, but it's in the same set of criteria that the rest of the village will be building. It's Lego blocks. The Marshstone one is its own. It would be, if you say Sundance comes in, and you ever do want to have an umbilical cord between the two, that kind of thing, that you use that flexibility.
But option 2 allows us to help the northeast area, option 3 would not.
Option 3 would still help the northeast.
Oh, it would?
It all includes that, it's not.
Yes, sir. All these would help.
But why wouldn't you need a reducer for the northeast in option 3 like you do in option 2? I don't understand.
You need a reducer. There'd still be a reducing valve is just a vault. It's not a big building. It's just a pressure reducer. So we would still do that water main umbilical to.
Okay, now, I thought the whole thing with the first booster and option 2 was to serve the northeast.
It would serve it differently. It would allow for direct service instead of. You'd be pushing water up to it instead of draining water down to it. That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand, because that's.
All of these, I should have been more clear. All 3 address the pressure deficiencies north of airport road. All 3.
Hey Jay, if you
Yeah.
look at option 3, the booster
Yeah.
says 4 million with a single star and a double star.
Oh, I thought that was 3 stars to make no option. Okay,
All right.
that was my one question. I thought that was 3 stars and
Thank you.
they just left space.
Yeah.
Because they have a code for 3 here, and I don't see it anywhere else.
That's fair.
So,
Okay.
so we're saying that with whatever we do here, this PVR zone, just so I'm understanding, that's the pressure reducing because it will be the furthest from whatever we install, and that's great.
Well, for the double star, which is either the Marshstone booster in option 3 or the zone 3 ground reservoir in option 2.
Okay.
The difference there is that we're providing such pressure either by big pumps
Yes.
or by a tank up the top
Okay. Mm-hmm.
that we need to reduce pressure
Okay.
because water's coming from a higher pressure. Option 1 does not have any of those stars
Mm-hmm.
because we'd be pushing water up to it
Okay.
as opposed to trying to
Okay.
throttle it down from above.
So whatever we do will increase the pressure of that area, so we have to put something in to decrease. Sorry.
2 and 3
Into it too.
will
Yeah.
do that. On
Okay.
option 1, we'll be able to tweak it perfect and
Okay.
just provide the right pressure right up.
Okay. Okay, but 2 or 3, that's why that's there. Okay.
And
Thank you.
don't want to overcomplicate the
Right.
PRV, especially release valve.
Mhm.
They're very common. It's not like a unique animal or
Mhm.
trap for this swamp. It's typical.
Okay, at the meeting that we had on water, I thought you needed to have all these you needed 3 of these tanks to take the filled water and then you boost it in to bring it down. It's not like just a valve, it's,
Those are the bladders, right?
yeah, the bladders is the
Yep.
term.
And that's,
Isn't that what, wasn't it, that's what I thought you were saying that because what Ben was saying that if we want the fire protection, we would need 3 of them. If we
Yeah.
weren't doing fire protection, so I guess I'm confused even more now again. So this booster, is that, when you say booster, it also means like these bladders and,
yes, so if going back to a rural home that has a well,
you know,
a well pump and a pressure tank in the basement. That's what we would call a simplex system, 1 pump, 1 tank. For a municipal system, you're not gonna want that, you want more redundancy,
right,
horsepower. So there we would be talking 3 pumps and likely 3 tanks.
right, a 1500.
Yes.
But
so
that's-
that-
Okay, go ahead.
And that's how you get to millions of dollars with these booster stations. They're as big as this room, for sure. Maybe slightly bigger, and they got expensive stuff in. That's,
Right, so it does, it's, you know, when you say it's a pressure reducing valve, to me, that's just a thing you turn down. You don't have all these
oh,
complexities to it.
sorry, so that,
That's what I'm getting confused in when we keep talking about, in my understanding, the high pressure water comes into these bladders. There's 3 of them at 1500 gallons, and then it boosts them out to get you the pressure that you need.
so this is existing homes that don't have good service. Airport. This is the rest of the village and phase 1. This would be the top of the hill of phase 2.
Yeah. You wanna use a marker
Better
there?
marker.
Yeah, that should be a little bit better.
So those boosters, they take water at a normal pressure and they add pressure to it. They need to be dampened, just like those basement, tank and pump. So you put a tank on that. And that goes up here and either fills your ground reservoir. I should have started drawing lower, or your ball on a stick. So that creates a reservoir of water up here. There would be a second pipe. Got one more color over there?
I do
There's a
not,
dash line,
sorry.
dash line. There would be a second pipe. And somewhere between the two, you would have a pressure reducing valve. So this is only focused on filling this tank.
Oh, okay.
And these pressure tanks are just there so that we don't blow something up when those big old horsepower start up.
Okay.
And then this one would have customized, wherever this is located horizontally, which will dictate vertical height. Then we would simply size and calibrate this pressure reducing valve. So that by the time this water comes back down the hill, to hear it, it arrives softly and nicely, and these people don't.
So this is gonna be a really stupid question. Instead of having 2 pipes, why don't you just put the reducing valve on your original one?
Great question. That would be, one of the advantages of option 1. We don't have any PRVs in option 1 because we're able to dial in that boosting because we have 3 booster stations. This guy's got to be so high to get up to here, and this guy needs to be so high to serve the houses that are in this range, and that's way higher than those houses.
Yeah.
So, you could, but it would just be more expensive.
Well,
It'd be a separate set of boosters to feed that.
We're saving money.
Where does the water come from to fill that reservoir tower?
Bear Park.
Yeah. It'll come right through here.
So it'll come from an existing water main,
Yep, right here.
and that'll be down there. It'll connect down at the valley, if you will. Oh, so that is at the valley.
Yeah, this is the valve.
And that's at Bear Park, give or take? Yeah. Okay.
Well, is it, the information question, are there not pressure reducing valves on the current reservoir coming down in the village system?
No,
There's not,
no, those tanks are set up with overflow height specifically so that the lowest house will be at like 95 PSI. So they can take 10 showers at a time and do 5 loads of laundry at a time. Because they're so low compared to that tower.
One more question.
Go ahead, no, ask away.
I'm back to the firefighting. Were there any firefighting differences between 2 and 3 for providing firefighting service?
Not minimal, nothing that.
That's neat. No, okay. But in general, I think option 2. Not as significant. Possibility. And it gives us somewhere of flexibility. So, future proofing, I guess we'll say. Right, for that. The aesthetics of the. Fall sick. 13
So other than this conversation, is there any explicit information you need for the board to inform their decision?
No, this was, I'm trying to keep everybody informed, and this is obviously, to me. View shed is clearly within the realm of the planning commission. But in actually the water system and the cost, that's not something.
Yep.
This committee would discuss. I just didn't want all of a sudden to have a stick and ball and everybody in the commission say, what the hell are you thinking? Or we get 200 neighbors coming, you know? And it's like I say, I have a preference, but I just need to know that everybody's backing certain things, and that's what I wanted to hear, because I don't wanna be the lone duck.
I think to look like, personally, the ball's thinking, so I assume that I think there are a lot of people that freak out about that.
They would, I'm sorry, I didn't guess that.
Not like,
The ball and
yeah,
yeah.
the aesthetics.
Yeah.
Not just local. Not just village.
I'm mainly concerned with the village.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But it's, like I say, it's out there.
Yeah, that's pretty high up. From here, we're at what, 900 feet, village home, I'm up, we're at 95 or something, so that's, I'm talking. 300 something, 400 feet. Above here.
All right, anything else? Otherwise, Brian, thank you, that, every time I hear this, I'm learning a little bit more. And Jeff and Kyle, do you wanna make any comments at all?
Not really, we're concerned about timing.
Yeah, no, and we understand that, we clearly understand that. So this is not gonna slow that down at all. All right, do I have a motion for adjournment then?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? Thank you, thanks for